Let's make some noise. Come on.
Thank you, indeedy, Nick Foles. Yes, let's make some noise, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Final Word here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network with your boy, MattyB, on the call back. Back after being MIA last night. You know, one of those nights, just wasn't really kind of feeling it. So I decided not to go on the air. But I'm back here tonight. And not only am I back here doing this show, which I was not scheduled to do originally because I got post-game duties tonight, but we're going to go and we're going to touch the sun tonight. We're going to do a twofer. I'm going to do some final word, and then when we get to that particular moment in time, when they go final down there at the arena, Flyers Sabres, we're going to transition into some Clear the Ice. So you get the MattyB twofer tonight to make up for the no-show last night. So never let it be said that I am not a person of the people and that I not try to kind of make sure everybody's taken care of. But here we are on the final word, back again, midweek show Wednesday night. All's quiet in Philadelphia sports on this Wednesday, Christmas season, first, I guess, week of the Christmas season, and I hope that it finds you well. But we're going to unpeel some layers tonight of why it's so quiet, you know, especially with the football team. We have spent a majority of the last 2 weeks talking about the obvious problems with this team, and yet nothing seems to be changing down there in South Philadelphia. So if nothing's going to change with this team, should the result on the field change? And more specifically, should we get frustrated when the result doesn't change? So we'll continue our Eagles bashing tonight as they get ready now for their Monday night showdown against the Los Angeles Chargers in the latest must-win game of the 2025 Philadelphia Eagles season. We'll get into that. Of course, we're going to probably save our Flyers talk for the Clear the Ice program. It is 5-2. I'm sorry, it just went 5-2 Flyers as they're putting goals in left and right down there in South Philadelphia. 2 power play goals so far on the night for the Flyers, as it's a score-orama going on against them lowly ass Buffalo Sabres. So we're gonna probably save the Flyers talk till we transition to Clear the Ice here in about a half hour or so. But we're also going to bring back tonight the Day in Philadelphia Sports History and our card review segment that we did not do the other night because I was up against the post game, and our of the night segment, all those great and wonderful things that we do here on this program every single night. So it's great to be back. It's great to be back in the saddle. It's great to be back with you on Wednesday nights or any other night of the week. So let's get it rolling here. But before we do that, let's check out what's happening on this network this week. Again, last night, all kinds of missteps. We didn't do any of this. The props, locks, and parlay, but that show was canceled in advance, so you guys already knew that wasn't going to happen. But we did not have the final word with MattyB, and it upsets me. But we will get it going. As I said, we're back here tonight. We'll be here tonight. We'll be here tomorrow. We're doing 2 for tonight. I'm trying to make up for it. Tomorrow or tonight, you got the Pittsburgh Sports Desk and, of course, me coming at you in a little bit with the Clear the Ice program. Tomorrow, Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn at 7, but we're going to be Birds Blasting tomorrow around 4:30, or 4:15, I should say. 4:15 on the network, so make sure you're tuned in as I will put Kyle to the test. I'm going to pin him against the wall. I'm going to be like, you mentioned last week heading into the Bears game that the loser of this Eagle-Bear game would officially be a fraud in 2020, or not officially be a fraud, but officially win the Fraud Bowl in 2025. Are you ready to own that statement? Tomorrow at 8, you got the Gridiron Weekly, and then I'll be back for some final word in at 9. Friday, nothing. Saturday, nothing. And then we got it rolling on Sunday with a full day headlined by the Philly AM Sports Show and some Steel City Sunday. And I'll be back at you at some point on Sunday afternoon with some Flyers, Avs post-game, and as well as the final word. The final word will be on Sunday night. So not what you would call the most tightest schedule that we've ever had this on the network this week, but it is a schedule indeed. Now, next week, though, we got something for you because we mentioned this the other night, and we're going to mention it now. A couple new shows coming to the network. One of them was supposed to start last night, but it did not due to some issues with the host. No big deal. We're going to get through all that as we do, but I promise you on starting next Monday and coming at you every Monday and Tuesday is the new Pittsburgh Sports Tonight program, headlined up by the Steel City Sunday guys. I think John is doing it. But that's going to be every Mondays and Tuesdays at 7 starting next week. So check your local listings. And then the big one, Friday night starting on December 12th at 9 p.m. The Philly Friday Frenzy. There's a lot of in that with Big Al. So Al will be coming at you with some of that frenzy nonsense. What does that mean? I have this image in my mind, but whatever. But Al's coming back to the airwaves. Can't wait to get him back on. I've been dying to see him back on the airwaves. So Al will be coming at you on Friday, December 12th. And then after that, every single Friday here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. So we got some stuff lined up, and we'll get it going as we do. And hopefully, as I said, this being a light week that I don't like to have. I don't like having dead space on any day of the week, but it is what it is. We didn't have anything last night. We're not going to have anything on Friday and Saturday. We'll get through it because next week it'll kick in the overdrive yet again. So we'll be all right. Just stick with us, everybody, please. So let's get it going. Let's strap in, strap on, strap it up. Keep your head, hands, and feet inside the car at all times. And here we go. Your night in Philadelphia sports history back in 1950. The Cleveland Browns beat the Eagles 13-7 in the last game likely ever where a team did not attempt a single pass. Oddly, the Browns rushed for just under 2 yards per carry, accumulating only 69 yards of total offense, yet still got the win. The 30-yard interception returned by Cleveland's defensive back Warren Lahr scored Cleveland's only touchdown. So we think we have offensive problems in 2025. They got nothing on the 1950 Eagles, who apparently lost the football game where neither team attempted a pass, which I'm sure that was 3 hours of your life that you definitely want to get back. In the 13-7 loss, Eagle loss to the Cleveland Browns. So there you go. Your day in Philadelphia sports history. The Eagles lose to the Browns 13-7 on this day in 1950, where neither team attempted a pass. So there you have it. That is your day in Philadelphia sports history, brought to you by the fine folks over at the Clear the Ice program, the quintessential and Flyer postgame entertainment. Monday night, you had Mike Laro. You're going to get me on a back-to-back twofer doing some Sabres. And then on Sunday, I'll be at you standalone at around 4 o'clock for the Flyers Avalanche that's going to be an interesting game. The Avalanche are a red-hot smoking Stanley Cup perennial opponent, and that's going to be an interesting game to watch, definitely. So make sure you're tuned in for all the greatness of the Clear the Ice show. All right, so we're at Wednesday, and we are Friday, Saturday. We're 4 days, or what, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're still 5 days off of the Monday night game against the Chargers. So I guess in essence, there's some time to make some changes, but with all the noise coming out of NovaCare Complex, especially from the coaches, there is no change coming from the play calling aspect. There's been a lot of rumors. I don't know how many of these rumors are actually, founded rumors or had any kind of, actual solid facts backed up. But no changes were made. Kevin Padula will remain as the play caller on offense. Nick Sirianni, of course, remains as your head coach, and Jalen Hurts will remain as your starting quarterback for another week at least, as we continue to get, muddle through all this. And I do have to hand it to some of the Eagle fans out there that are trying to keep their head above water and trying to keep the positivity flowing about this football team. I think it's definitely misguided. But it shows a lot of heart and a lot of spirit and a lot of dying dedication for your team. But let's do what MattyB typically does. Let's talk about the reality of the situation, right? We're going to go into this week against the team in the Chargers who's a little clipped up. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to tell you anything at all about the Chargers. I really don't know. I couldn't tell you 5 players on that team. I could tell you 2 and their head coach. I can tell you Keenan Allen. I can tell you Josh Herbert. Now I know, thanks to Joe Hale, I know Trey Lance is the backup. So I can tell you 3 players that play for the Chargers. So I'm not going to sit here and try to explain or pretend that I know anything about the Los Angeles Chargers. But I do know that the Eagles are heading out to L.A. on Monday Night Football, national televised game yet again, with another opportunity to turn around this potential disastrous 2025 season. But when you look at this team and you look at what's the messaging out of the facility this week, and you look at the non-movement, especially at the coaching ranks, there's no changes coming. And I'm sorry, I got to take this sort of the way I see it. What are they going to do that's different? And why should Eagles fans care anymore about what they hear from their football team? There's no changes that are coming. We've talked about changes. We've talked about not necessarily permanent changes, but changes that would send a message. Nick Sirianni alleges he's all about messaging. Nick Sirianni alleges he's all about sending a message either through his team during practice, inside the building when they're in meetings, or to the fans when he addresses them. Well, what is that message? The message is we're going to continue down the same road where things have not worked. We haven't played a complete game at all this season. We don't know what our offensive identity is heading into week 14. Is that the plan? Is that the messaging? That we are just going to be stubborn about this and take this as far as it can take us. Folks, I don't know how the rest of this thing is going to play out. I've said that it would take a miraculous, disastrous collapse in order for the Eagles not to make the playoffs. They'd have to literally lose out and get some help, I think, along the way for them not to make the playoffs. So 8-9 would be the most disastrous thing that would happen. I don't think that's going to happen. They're going to win another football game. They got some cream puffs coming. The Raiders, the Commanders, depending on where you come out on that coin with them. I don't know how you assess the Washington Commanders. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know anything about what's happened to them. I know that obviously the quarterback went down, and their plan in the offseason to bring in some older veterans has not worked out. And they are currently, I think, if the draft would be today, they're picking like 6. So it's not been a good season. They're 3-9 or something like that. I'm not, but they still could win. And Eagles got to play them twice. Then you got Buffalo sandwiched in there. They're going to win a game. They're probably going to win at least 2 or 3 games remaining on their schedule. So they're going to finish the season around that 11-6, 10-7 plateau. I, of course, picked the Eagles to be 10-7 to start this season. That's right, I did. And they're going to finish in that position. Now, whether or not they win their division, I don't know. We'll see. But I think they're going to make the playoffs. But what if they don't win a Super Bowl? And I guess that's kind of where I'm locked right now. And this is where I'm confused, and maybe you guys can help me. To start the season, the Eagles were going to be considered going into the season, one of the hottest teams looking to repeat as Super Bowl champions. Obviously, that was the number one thing, right? That was the messaging from the fans. That's all I heard. Even though we were vastly unsure about the offseason, or I should say I was vastly unsure about the moves that Howie made this offseason. Vastly unsure about it. But the messaging out of Eagle Land with all the Eagle fans was, you know what? This is a hot team. This is a team that's going to win a Super Bowl. Now, this is also a team that had the opportunity to do something that no other Eagle team had done in history, and that's go back-to-back. And, of course, the big thing, usher in the Eagle dynasty. And obviously, through 14 weeks, even though they are sitting at 8-4, and this is one of the things that really bothers me about Eagle fans, they're trying to pull positivity. I just gave them credit, some of them for being positive. I gave them credit for keeping their head above the water. But I just have a hard time wondering or thinking where they're pulling this positivity from. And it's got to be younger Eagle fans. It can't be anybody my age that's feeling this way. It's got to be somebody who's never really experienced this, except in 2023, right? No older Eagle fan in their right mind. And when I say older, probably 45 and above, that's got a little that stinging history of what it was like growing up being a fan of this team in the 80s and the 90s. But no older Eagle fan can actually look at themselves in the mirror and think to themselves and say, there's hope here for this team. I really don't know how they can do that we're watching a team that's become predictable, or not become predictable, is remain predictable. And I say remain because this is the same offense we saw in 2023. This is the same offense we saw in 2024, and this is obviously the same offense we're seeing now. The only difference, of course, is 24 was Saquon Barkley, and I'm going to stress it yet again. The fact that he was so dominant and how impactful he was on this offense in 2024, you're obviously seeing how impactful he was based on what we're watching in 2025 with this football team without a run game. And I just don't know how fans can pull positivity out. I'm having a hard time. I truly am. And yeah, maybe I'm not the right person to ask, right? Maybe I'm not the right person to say, MattyB, you're not positive about this? Maybe I'm not. And I'll give you that. And I go into this with a pessimistic side and an edge anyway. I understand that. But my point is reality driven, not fantasy, faith. I love the Eagles. I ride and die. Not any of that. And I don't care about that. But when you look at the football, when you look at the X's and you look at the O's and you look at between the numbers, you look at the 91 penalties for almost 700 yards, you look at all the stuff that's happening on the field. How can you in your right mind think that this team is going to achieve its goal? And that goal was to win another Super Bowl again, right? I mean, is that what the goal was? Correct. I'm just trying to make sure that we're all on the same page. So as we go through these exercises week after week, and we hear from Nick Sirianni week after week about we got to clean it up, we got to fix it, but yet week after week it's the same thing, and there's no change coming, at least from the coaching standpoint. Now, there's been some talk, of course, from the fans about changing some of the players. Jalen Hurts is front and center to that discussion. Why is it not a plausible concept or a plausible idea to sit him? Do the Eagles know for sure that their offense could not better be run through Tanner McKee than Jalen Hurts? Now, athletic ability, obviously, Jalen Hurts has got the upper edge on Tanner McKee, but Tanner McKee's got something going for him that a lot of quarterbacks ride for almost a whole season, and that's the unknown. Nobody has any tendencies on Tanner McKee. It's hard to game plan against a Tanner McKee when you don't know what he does. So why not see? And to sort of answer all the questions about whether or not, and again, McKee may not be your long-term answer. I'm not saying this is a long-term solution to the problem. I'm saying this is a good message to send to your team to tell them, if you're not performing well, I'm going to sit you down. All the reports that Jalen Hurts does not want to run anymore. He wants to be known as a passing quarterback. But then again, he's the same guy, or I hear all this from a lot of fans. Well, Jalen Hurts doesn't care about stats. Jalen Hurts doesn't care about the glory. Jalen Hurts doesn't care about being elevated as one of the greatest in the game. All Jalen Hurts cares about is winning. Well, if that's the case, then why would he care what he was doing back there? Whatever he could do to help the team, right? Run, throw, whatever. So where's the messaging on that? If Tanner McKee comes in and he stinks up the joint, boom, you pull him out. But if Tanner McKee comes in and you can open up that playbook and you could start running plays that you couldn't with Jalen Hurts, and that's another thing about this. Your franchise quarterback who's getting paid a lot of money is limited on what he does in the pocket. There's not a full playbook open to him. So why don't we try a guy that maybe you can open up the full playbook at least one time to see if he can run it? And then you make your decisions after that. It's not sacrilege. It's not treasonable. It's not a treasonable offense. It's not blasphemy to call for a change at the quarterback position when your starter has not been able to perform up to the standard to win football games. Now, people are going to say, well, they've won 8 games. Okay, they have. But give me any of the games, with maybe the exception of the Rams game. I'm always going to give the Rams game on this. I really am, because they were down 26-7 at half. The offense got going in the second half, and they were able to win that game. Well, we could discuss whether or not the Rams were playing a prevent defense too early or not. It is what it is. But other than the Rams game, Jalen Hurts has not performed to the level, one, conduciary to the amount of money he's getting paid, and two, to the standard of being a franchise quarterback. He hasn't. He has not. He's shown flashes from here and there. He's done things here and there. He's made a throw here and there, but he's not been consistent. He's not been elite. He's not been an MVP candidate all season long. And if you're struggling and you just can't get out of neutral, why is it such a bad thing to do about benching your starter? I'm not telling you to exile him to Morocco. No, I'm not saying that. Sit him down for a game. Let him watch from the sidelines. Maybe he gets a different angle or a different perspective of the game. And let Tanner McKee try to jumpstart this offense. It's not being jumpstarted with Jalen Hurts. Or the other option would be to take off the training wheels and tell Jalen, here's all the plays that we don't want you to run because we don't trust you to run them. Go ahead and run them. Who cares at this point? Maybe we'll get lucky. But we're not trying anything. We're going to go back with the same quarterback. We're going to go back with the same running back, the same offensive line, the same wide receivers, the same tired-ass offense. And do we really expect things to change? Winning this football game on Monday is paramount. Yes. But also what's equally paramount is to show consistency and to show that you can finish a game and start a game and do all those things in the same game. Something the Eagles have not shown at all this season. So again, the question is, with the messaging being that we got to get it fixed and the messaging being that we want to change things, but they're not changing, why should you believe it? What's up, Mickey? How you doing tonight? Checking in out there from the left coast. It's at about, 6:30 out there? Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Welcome to the twofer tonight here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Yep, MattyB, final word, and then I'm going to transition right to Clear the Ice as I got Flyers postgame going on right now. I think it's still 5-2 as they go into the third period or second intermission. So the Flyers are on their way, hopefully, to a nice win tonight. Nice, a lot of goal win. So the messaging of the Philadelphia Eagles to the fans, to the media, to the other teams of the NFL. Again, now we're starting to hear the snickering about defenses being able to call out plays of the offense, being predictable and understanding what they're going to run based on where A.J. Brown lines up in the formation. Now that's starting to come back out. Again, we could get on Kevin Padula all you want, man, and he does deserve something of this. He does. But when are you going to change something on the field? Again, it's easy to say, let's fire the coach. Let's fire him. Let's get rid of the coordinator. We obviously know how to do that here. Right? And then when the season ends, if they don't win a Super Bowl, obviously winning a Super Bowl is the only thing that should save his job, or should it? I don't think they should fire him. They should run him back next year, because you're not going to fire Sirianni. Unless Sirianni loses out, Eagles don't make the playoffs, then everyone needs to get fired, to include your fraud-ass GM. But unless that happens, they're not going to fire. They're not going to make any major moves. I really don't. I don't think, unless, of course, the Eagles power play Sirianni a la Doug Peterson and tell him, fire Kevin Padula. We're getting a new offensive coordinator. And Sirianni does, if you're going to fire him, then fire me. Maybe that happens. I don't know. But that's the only way I could see Sirianni getting fired, unless he loses out and doesn't make the playoffs. If he loses out and doesn't make the playoffs, you took a team to 2 Super Bowls, you won 1, and you also piloted 2 team collapses. They sort of balanced themselves out a little bit there. But I just don't understand. One, it's the sacrilege when you make a change at quarterback. Why not? Again, I'm not saying permanently. I'm saying the quarterback is not doing the job. He's not alone, but he's not doing the job. If you could change wide receivers, go ahead, change them. Why ain't Matt Shipley going to run the football? Give him an opportunity. I cannot wait, because at the end of the season, I do this thing every year called Howie's Draft Class Review, right? And what we do is we take a draft class. And the rule of thumb here is that we give every draft class 3 full seasons of football action before we make a final grade on them. And this year in the hopper is the class of 2023. So I'm going to get an opportunity at the end of the year to give final draft grades on the class of 2023. Now, we do it a little basic here on the program. We don't get into A, B, C, D, E, F, and G and all that. We do 2 things, hit or bust. It's very simple, hit or bust. And I'll be able to opportunity to look at the class of 2023 this year as we continue to evaluate how he's drafting abilities. But of course, the class of 2025, who's safe for now, next couple of years, but none of them of the class of 2025 got on the field and took any snaps in that game. I think there were some players on the field for special teams, but nobody participated in the offense or the defense snap-wise from the class of 2025 drafting against the Bears. And it ain't taking a brain surgeon to find out where all these problems are. So I understand you're thin. I understand you're thin at certain positions. But switching out Jalen Hurts for Tanner McKee along with Saquon for Tank Bigsby, why not? Let's see what they can do. It's called messaging. I hear it all the time from him. Sirianni, that is. I'm messaging. I'm sending a message. Well, what the hell is that message, man? And maybe I don't understand the context of what he's saying. What message is he sending? Well, whatever it is, it's not getting read. But if you want to send a message to your players, bench those 2 guys. As they're getting ready to run on the field for the first offensive series, say, Jalen, Saquon, have a seat. Tanner, Tank, get in there. See how far that message goes. I'm saying, man. I think that would be if you want to see the Eagles try to change something without firing their offensive coordinator, without firing their head coach. You can't go out and get any more players because that's done. And by the way, today, Darius Slay, who was cut, or they, I guess, agreed on mutual terms from the Steelers to part ways, never made through waivers, as the Buffalo Bills put a claim in on him and got him. So Darius Slay is now headed to Buffalo. There were some reports coming out this morning that there was heavy interest from the Eagles. They probably put a claim in on him, and they probably were nowhere near, like probably 10th or 15th in line. They probably never would have made it to him. The only hope I think Slay had of going to the Eagles was if nobody picked him up through waivers, and he made it through waivers. But that's not happening, so there's no help coming in that aspect. So you're left with what you got and how you maneuver the rest of this season with still an opportunity to get to the playoffs. Still an opportunity, as crazy as it sounds for me to say this. They have an opportunity still to win a Super Bowl. Now, the reality is something different. But if they don't change anything, if they don't switch up what they're doing, are they really? I mean, what does it say about the Eagles? What does it say about the players on this football team? And what does it say, honestly, about this championship culture that allegedly Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman foster? Because if things don't work out, now when the collapse, or the definition of a collapse for this team, would be A, of course, not making the playoffs. B, getting into the playoffs and being one and done. That is a collapse. Or is it C, getting into the playoffs and not winning the Super Bowl? Like, what is your definition of a collapse? I think any one of those two, the first 2 options, to me, would be a collapse. If they get to the Super Bowl and don't win it, I don't really think you can call that a collapse based on how this season has gone. You might want to actually pat them on the shoulder for that, for maneuvering through all that. But I think A and B are legitimate collapse criteria situations. If they obviously lose out, don't make the playoffs, that's an uber collapse. It's not even a collapse, man. It's like a mega uber collapse. And if they get into the playoffs, but they're one and done, that is also a collapse. They get to the playoffs and make a run to the Super Bowl and get to the Super Bowl and lose, that's not a collapse. But what confidence do you have legitimately, without your green sunglasses on, without drinking the green Kool-Aid, without worshiping at the altar of Howie Roseman and Jalen Hurts? What legitimate reality-based information do you have that makes you feel confident that this team is going to actually fulfill their expectations and deliver what we so desperately want as a dynasty? What legitimate facts and based in reality do you have? And maybe you should give them to me so you enlighten me. And what I heard today with a couple of different things that I listened to was now we're infighting with each other, which I love. I love when Eagles fans turn on each other. It's the best. You know, it makes people like me who are on the outside of both sides of that fence smile and laugh. You got one side of the Eagles fans calling the other side a bunch of bandwagon guys and gals, jumping off when the going gets bad. Then you got the bandwagon or the other side that's being called bandwagons, obviously calling the other side homers, right? You got the warring factions going back. Now they're turning on each other. Now we're infighting. And that's when you really can see the cracks in that foundation, is when we start infighting. And that's brilliant. I love it. But at what point, for those fans that are calling, and for the fans that are questioning it, fans that are diehard fans, but are starting to question whether or not this team has the ability to make a run for a Super Bowl based on what they've seen up to this point, I don't know how you can. I don't know how you can fault them. And I also don't know how you can accuse them of being bandwagon fans. I haven't heard any Eagle fans say, I'm done. Screw the Eagles, I'm out. No, I've heard a lot of them be critical about the Eagles. I saw a couple people today, shouting down the homers by saying, whoa, what are you guys talking about? What have you seen that makes you think this? You don't have to be blind faith. You don't have to be led by, led by faith, I guess, into the abyss by this football team. It's okay to be critical. It doesn't make you less of a fan. It makes you actually a very smart fan. And I haven't heard any Eagle fans say they're out. Like I'm off. I'm done. Moving on. Not to see here. I hate the Eagles. I haven't heard anybody say that, but I have heard a lot of fans be critical, and they have every right to be. And they're getting shouted down by some homers, which obviously where I stand on the homers. So, what is the reality? What is based in the reality that you have seen that makes you think the Eagles are going to get back to a Super Bowl and win it? And as we get ready for the Chargers, I'll say it as I say it every week. And tomorrow on this network at 4:15, new start time, by the way, we're getting earlier at 4:15. The Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn will return. We will get into the. We'll take one last look at that debacle against the Bears, and we'll get into Eagles Chargers. And one of the questions because I remember asking Kyle last week, because I'm a big fan at this point of the season. To me, it's about style points too, right? I want to see something from this team. I want to see a complete game. I want to see them take it to their opponent and not necessarily take it to their opponent and blow them out 40-0. That's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is a consistent effort, a complete effort on both sides, all three sides of the football, something I have not seen at all this season. So style points for me in this game against the Chargers apply. Absolutely apply. If they go out and they win like 7 of 6 on a last-second touchdown because it bounced off of some dude's helmet and landed into the hands of a streaking Devontae Smith, that's not going to give me much confidence going forward. I need to see a complete effort. Now, Kyle last week against the Bears said he didn't care about that. He just wanted to see a win at this point. As we get deeper into this, I'm going to question him a little bit more. And why can this football team say it's about messaging, it's about sending the right message, but they're not willing to change anything internal? And again, I'm not talking about firing Kevin Padula. I think that's I don't agree with that. But you do have opportunities. You can send messages to some players and say, listen, you're just not cutting it, and you should sit. But they're unwilling to do that. So we'll talk more Eagles tomorrow on the Birds Blast. So that's something to look forward to. Let's pivot off of football, because I do want to talk some baseball tonight, because it's been heating up. The hot stove is heating up. Winter meetings are getting ready to go, or they're starting tonight or tomorrow, real soon. And contracts and players are moving around. and everyone's sort of starting to change addresses. Let's go over. I think we're going to transition here and do some hot stove, man. We haven't done the hot stove in a minute. Let's do some hot stove report here on the final word. It's a wrap sports. All right, before I get into the hot stove report, we haven't done this all week. And that's good. Let it sort of build up a bit. Things are starting to move a little bit. A couple minor major moves have happened already, and we'll talk about them here in a second. But the Phillies continue to remain quiet on the western, eastern, and southern and northern fronts. Nothing coming out of Philadelphia at all in terms of signing players or losing players. No one's moved. And as I said, the winter meetings are starting here, I think, tomorrow. I want to say tomorrow, or they're going on now. Or next week soon. When are the winter meetings? Let me look that up. Should have had that information ready for you. By the way, they're getting ready to start the third period down there at the arena. So Flyers up 5-2 as we start that period. Winter meeting. Winter meeting dates. 7th to the 10th. So Sunday through, what is that? Sunday through Wednesday of next week is the winter meeting. So hopefully we're going to hear something here, something from the Phillies as we get ready for the winter meetings. And, the Kyle Schwarber conversation's heating up, whether or not he's going to stay or go to Cincinnati, or now you're hearing all kinds of teams being thrown into the mix. Cincinnati is now back in the lead of that sweepstakes. A little renewed talk about Ranger re-signing him. Again, I don't think they do that, but they got to start doing something, man. I mean, it's getting a little ridiculous here, but the Phillies remain quiet. But other teams are making some moves. Let's go into the hot stove report here. As last time we talked, it was a while ago. It was a while ago. It was probably last week. And let's get into it. Let's start with some of the moves that were made a couple of days ago. Some of these moves already happened, but it just became final. Nick Anderson, the right-hand pitcher, formerly of the Mariners, is now headed to the Athletics on a minor league deal. Sam Roberts is staying in St. Louis on a minor league contract. Tanner Rainey also staying in Detroit on a minor league deal. Vinny Capra going to the Red Sox from the White Sox on a minor league contract. Scott Blewett going to St. Louis on a minor league contract from Baltimore. Amos Willingham going to Houston on a minor league contract. Austin Pope going to the Braves from the Diamondbacks on a minor league deal. Tommy Henry staying in Arizona on a minor league deal. Ryan Helsley, Helsley, I don't know what happened to him last year, boy. Man, that guy was lights out as a closer for the Cardinals. He gets traded to the Mets, and boy, he imploded. Thankfully, imploded. Really being a liability back there in that back end of that Mets bullpen, really kind of exposing them down the stretch of the season. Definitely not a trade if you're a Mets fan that you gloat about. But he is no longer the Mets problem, as he is off to Baltimore on a 2-year contract. Very interesting deal here for me, that they're going to take a shot at him in Baltimore as they try to pick the pieces up of their season of what happened last year. So Ryan Helsley going to be moving to the American League, no longer will be our problem in the National League. So he's on his way to Baltimore on a 2-year contract. And don't forget, Edwin Diaz is also a free agent for the Mets. I guess the only thing, if the season were to start today, you got AJ Minter back there in the back end of that Met bullpen. John Burbia, the former pitcher of the Red Sox, now going out to Colorado on a minor league deal. Danny Young, who was with the Mets, right-hand pitcher, is now a Brave. He signed a 1-year contract. Alex Manoah on his way to the Angels from the Athletics on a 1-year deal. Dylan Cease, the big 7-year, $210 million contract going from San Diego out to Toronto. This trade actually hit a few days ago. Just became official yesterday. And we've already kind of talked about it If one thing this shows me is that the Blue Jays are 100% all in on making a run at another World Series. That's obviously what this says to me. I don't know necessarily if it's the right move, but Cease is a top of the rotation kind of guy, and he's going to provide you that. And they now, I guess one of their weaknesses that they analyzed heading into this offseason was, was the rotation. I thought they pitched well. But he's going to help that. He's going to help that rotation, and he's going to definitely provide them another reason to be excited about going back to the World Series. Devin Williams, formerly of the Yankees, is now a Met as he signs a 3-year contract. He was. I guess now he is an option in the back end of that pen. I don't know if he's closer material, but he'll probably assume the role that Ryan Helsley vacated from the Mets. Williams pitching for the Yankees out there. 18 saves last year, 4.79 ERA, and 90 strikeouts. So not closer material, but definitely somebody you're going to see in the 7th or 8th inning, replacing what Ryan Helsley was supposed to bring to the Mets, never did. Sam Hentigs going to San Francisco on a 1-year contract. And our old friend Connor Brogdon. Connor Brogdon, man. Signed a 1-year deal with the Cleveland Guardians, leaving the played for the Angels, was up and down AAA and Major League Baseball. So Connor Brogdon on his way to Cleveland. But that's it. As I said, some minor deals, major, whatever. As the Phillies continue to stand absolutely dead silent in this period here, leading up into the winter meetings that will start on Sunday and roll to next Wednesday. So there's your hot stove report here on the program. But I really do hope, and it's going to be interesting, and hopefully it does start, because I know Dave Dombrowski said in his exit interviews when the season ended last year that due to the salary cap situation with the team, there wasn't going to be much. I want to word it the right way. He didn't say they weren't going to try to get better, but in terms of like big time trades or big time signings, they were pretty limited to what they could do. And I understand that, when you have the type of contracts that you have with this baseball team, it's hard. And I know a lot of people are claiming or clamoring for change with this baseball team. And, I know, and we felt the same way. And it's funny too, because again, we're talking about messaging with the Eagles. What's the messaging with the Phillies right now? And that's a real interesting topic too, because at the end of last season, the bitterness of how that went down, once again, watching the offense flounder under the biggest of lights and watching that inconsistent offense, not but straight up waste great starting pitching performances from everybody and great pitching in general. Watching them flounder again. It was pitchforks and torches about changing this team. First it was fire the manager, then it was we got to change the DNA of this team, or we got to change the players of this team. And I of course have taken it one step further. I want to change the entire nucleus of this team. And the only way, honestly, understanding what the team's situation is with payroll and understanding some of these contracts that this team has, and the uncertainty with labor coming up in 2026 or at the end of 26, heading into 27, what changes can they really do? And I know everyone's the name Kyle Tucker, Bregman, Bellinger, those are the names that are being thrown around out there that, could potentially come here and help out. Though those are great names. Pete Alonso is another name. Does that really solve the problem that we've been sort of clamoring about for the last 3 seasons? Is the inconsistent offense? And you guys have seen my plan of what I would like to do for this team in terms of changing DNA, moving certain players out of here, giving young players an opportunity, and that's going to be my battle cry all offseason. It's time. That's it. MattyB's 2026 Phillies mantra. It's time. It's time to see what we got in Gabriel Raconis Jr. It's time to see what we got in Justin Crawford. It's time to see what we got in Andrew Painter. It's time to see what we got a little bit later on in the season with Aiden Miller. It's time to unleash the minor league system onto the major league landscape. And I firmly believe that. Now, I know that comes with a big risk, 100%, especially if you're going to try to infuse all this talent at the same time. And I'm not saying other teams have done it. Now, granted, the stature of your team or the state of your team has a lot to say in how you go about doing something like that. No one's going to bat an eyelash if the Pittsburgh Pirates start the season with 5 minor league players newly promoted on the major league roster. No one's going to care. But if the Phillies did something like that, that's an eye raiser. That's a team that's in the Phillies. That's a perennial playoff team that's all of a sudden now turning over the majority of their time and playing opportunity to young players. And that typically sounds an alarm for danger. We're rebuilding, or we're going to try to get younger, and it's not working. We're aggressively retooling, whatever you want to say. It doesn't scream of a team that's confident in winning. Doesn't scream of a team that's confident in going out to win a World Series. But I say in this case with the Philadelphia Phillies, giving the opportunity to some of these young players and thus changing the DNA would be extremely beneficial, because with the payroll, you're not able to move off of players like Bryce Harper. You're not able to move off of a player like Trey Turner. You're not able to move off of Zach Wheeler or Aaron Nola. You're just not able to do that. So in essence, enough of the core will still be here in order to soften the blow of a transitional younger team. And what I'm asking is just turning over the outfield essentially to the young players. I mentioned Harrison Bader as one of my options in left field. I'm not in love with that. If Harrison Bader signs with somebody else, so be it. We'll go find another left fielder. But you got to go out and find a veteran, right? We need a veteran left fielder. He would tie in the young outfield of Crawford and Raconis, in my opinion. You put in, you let Schwarber go, you sign Alonso, there you go. You got another veteran, leader, power bat, middle of that lineup. You take away all that nonsense about, you're not. I feel comfortable leading off, so I'm going to stay in the leadoff position. You're not going to move me out of the leadoff position. I don't want to bat fourth. You're going to get rid of all that with Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso, okay, you're batting fourth, great. And he's a right-handed power bat to protect Harper. That's a better option for me. It is. And it changes a big-time part of what the Phillies were as a team character. The Kyle Schwarber effect. Batting second, craziness. Leading off, double craziness. It gets rid of that nonsense. And I want that type of behavior gone. That's what I mean by changing the DNA of this baseball team. Somebody, I think it was Joe Hale, said the other night, he wants to bring in like 3 players to replace Schwarber, like a Billy Beane effect. I mean, I'd be okay with that, but I still have a hole in my cleanup. I need a guy to fit that. So I'm okay with letting go of a Schwarber and turning it over to a Pete Alonso, because he's not going to give you any guff about leading off. He doesn't care about that. He knows he's not supposed to lead off. He's not going to tell you he's going to bat second. No, he's going to be a cleanup hitter, right? It's a lot easier. So you'd still have a good portion of your DNA and your nucleus of your team still here, but you got to start infusing some young talent into this roster. If not, to see whether or not these players can hack it. If they can't hack it, send them on their way. But leaving them down in AAA another year doesn't make any sense to me, man. So MattyB's 2026 Phillies mantra is, it's time. It's time to turn over playing time to Justin Crawford, time to turn over playing time to Andrew Painter, time to turn over playing time to Gabriel Raconis Jr., time to turn over playing time, maybe not right away, but at some point in 2026 to Aiden Miller. Because that's, in my opinion, the only way you can change this team. Everyone's looking at free agency like, let's bring in Kyle Tucker. Let's bring in Bregman. Let's bring in Bellinger. That does nothing about changing the DNA of this baseball team. And it all it does is explodes our payroll out even further that we don't have to spend in the first place. It's not a feasible option. I don't think the Phillies got that kind of money. If they lose a Kyle Schwarber, they can replace it with a Pete Alonso, or, as Joe Hale suggested, 3 other players that are lesser value. But you're not going to be able to re-sign Kyle Schwarber and sign Cody Bellinger. You're not going to be able to re-sign Kyle Schwarber and go after Kyle Tucker. It's just not going to happen. So you got to find a way. And I don't want that. I want to see what this team can do if you change the DNA. I'm not saying rebuild or retool. Harper's still here. Turner's still here. Wheeler's still here. Nola's still here. But you got to infuse some young talent. Now, as we progress through this offseason, and of course, nothing has happened up to this point, I think Phillies fans might want to brace themselves for, and I would love it if that's the case, and I would be so happy if that's what happens with this team. I'm here to tell you, I think it's going to be another winner of a Joe Ross, friggin' Max Kepler, and JJ, JoJo, whatever his name is, Romano. It's going to be another one of those off seasons. But that's okay if they decide to turn it over to some of the young players. Now, do I think trades are going to happen? That's probably the more reliable thing that the Phillies are going to try to do. And if they don't make any moves to the trade market, that tells you also a lot about where a lot of teams think some of these players are worth. But for those out there who are looking for instant gratification through free agency, I just don't think it's happening. You got one big splash player, or you get multiple lesser players. The Phillies just don't have that kind of money. Put Harper. I agree, Star Wars. Put Harper as a DH. Bring in Pete Alonso. Put Harper. By the way, it's now 6. Oh no, still 5-2. Still 5-2 Flyers. About 11 minutes ago. We're going to transition to the Clear the Ice show right after this. Put JT. Put Harper as your DH. Bat him third. Bring in Alonso. Play him at first. Bat him fourth. You got a right-hand power bat protecting Harper. How simple is that? How simple is that? Joe, what's going on, man? I've used your name a couple of times tonight. Welcome back to the program. I take it by your YouTube handle that we're not broadcasting on Facebook. Oh, well, sorry. Don't want JT back. I don't want him back either, Star Wars. But the sound, to talk realistically and to, again, I'm a big fan of being real. The reality of that JT situation is I just don't see another way to go differently. I don't. There's just nothing in the cupboard. If you guys watched the 2025 Fighting's Final season and review show, you saw me profile Caden Hedinger, who actually ended up being one of the top offensive performer for the Blue Claws this year, the high A Jersey Shore Blue Claws, and he's a catcher. But he's about 20,000 years away from joining the Phillies in terms of being ready for Major League Baseball. There's just nothing in the system. And the pipe dream, and I'm sorry to be the bad tiding, the deliverance of bad tidings here at Christmas, but they're not getting Adley Rutschman. The Orioles are not going to part ways with him unless the Phillies give up the AAA, the entire team. They're just not going to get him. Hunter Goodman, I would love that. That would be a great move. But there's just the reality of the situation is I just don't think there's anything out there. And the Phillies are kind of hamstringed with some of their trades that they've made. Again, going down the Logan O'Hoppe trail. They're just kind of hamstringed right now, and they got to do what they got to do. So JT is the best option on a 2-year deal. Nothing more than that. I'm not asking, don't give him a 3-year deal. I'll be okay even with a 1-year deal, honestly. But 2-year deal I can live with. But I'm okay with that. I really, truly am. I am. But do I want him back? It's a weird situation. I don't want him either. But I just don't see another way out. I don't. It's better on YouTube tonight. Oh, I appreciate that. Again, I apologize. I think part of the problem tonight was I went on right at the end of the Pittsburgh Sports Desk, which they were probably on Facebook, and Facebook will not allow 2 shows to stream at the same time. So that's probably why I didn't show up on Facebook, or I never show up on Facebook for some odd reason. My show gets knocked off Facebook all the time. But I'm glad you're here, Joe. Appreciate it. So kind of recap where we're at. Spent about the first 40 minutes on and on about the Phillies, or about the Eagles. Now I'm transitioning a little bit. We did the hot stove. We did our night in Philadelphia sports history, waiting for the Flyers game to end. And we're going to do a 2 for tonight where I'll transition right into Clear the Ice. So because I was not on the air last night, again, for those of you that did not know, I was not on the air last night. Something happened, could not make it. And so I'm going to be doing a 2 for tonight on this show. So I want to do this and then transition right to the clear the ice. They weren't on again. Yeah. All right. So you tell me. I don't know. Facebook's weird, man. Facebook's horrible. It's a horrible platform, but it's a platform, so I use it. It's hit or miss with Facebook. It never used to be that way. Over the last year, it's gotten really bad. But we'll live through it. Thankfully we're on different platforms other than Facebook. So, Star Wars reports that they got Slay. The Bills did. Yes, I talked about it. Star Wars. You missed about the first 45 minutes of the show. I went over that, and to recap that for those that weren't there, I can recap. Obviously, the Slay move was big time news this morning about the Steelers and Slay parting ways or agreeing to part ways. But Slay had to clear waivers, and I don't know where the Eagles fit in the waiver claim area. I don't know what number they were, but I had heard initial reports that the best chance the Eagles would have to get Slay is if he made it through waivers unclaimed, and then they could probably sign him as an unrestricted free agent. But that did not happen as the Bills put a waiver claim in on him and got him. So there goes that fantasy or pipe dream. But it's about the messaging, though, right, Star Wars? It's about the messaging of this football team. And that's what we talked about tonight. What is the messaging? Nick Sirianni says we got to fix it. We got to change things. But what are they changing? And what have they changed? And what do you think, as an Eagles fan, as an intelligent man, intelligent person, don't want to label you there, but as an intelligent person, what makes you think that this football team is going to win a Super Bowl based on what you've seen up through the first 13 games, the fact that the team doesn't want to change anything? And again, I'm not calling necessarily for the head coaches or the coordinator's job. I'm not. I'm absolutely not I'm not saying that that's the change I'm looking for. I'm looking for some change. Now, if you so decide to fire the offensive coordinator, then so be it. Does the next offensive coordinator du jour, does he automatically have a playbook that's stamped, approved by Jalen Hurts? Is that playbook going to be opened up wide to that quarterback and say, here you go, Jalen? First of all, you're going to have to learn it, by the way, in the next, 5 days. Oh, and not only you, but the entire offense is going to have to learn this. We're going to have to incorporate our schemes into this. Because if I'm going to change the entire offense as a coordinator, that's why you brought me here, right? Because, I'm not going to run the same offense that the guy that predated me did, because that's why he got fired. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. They're not going to be able to learn a whole new offense in 6 days. And you're going to hear the same thing. They're going to run the same offense for the first couple of games, and then a couple plays will get wrinkled in. It's just not going to be enough. There's not enough time to do that. And that's, I think, the major problem of why they won't change offensive coordinators, not at this point of the season. There's not enough time to get another offensive coordinator in here and get his system in and get the true effect of what he could bring to your football team here. But aside from that, say they could do that magically. Say magically you could stop time, and an offensive coordinator could come in here and teach this offense a new playbook in 5 days, and put all the instills in and all the deception in and all the layers of it in 5 days. You stop time. Is that playbook that offensive coordinator, whoever he may be, is that playbook going to be opened up to Jalen Hurts? Because he's not going to come in here and magically fix the offensive line's problems. He's not going to magically come in here and fix whatever's ailing Saquon Barkley in 2025. So we're left with trying to open up the playbook to the quarterback. Is that going to happen in 5 or 6 days? That Jalen Hurts is going to finally we're going to spin that wheel one more time, or we're going to get that offensive coordinator that can run a system completely compatible to what the skill set of Jalen Hurts is? That's really the number one thing here with changing offensive coordinators, in my opinion. If you want to do it in the offseason, why not? We do it all the time. That's fine. But to do it in week 13, week 14, what change are you really going to see? There's not enough time. But if you bench your starting quarterback, if you bench your starting running back for a game, you might see some change there. You might see some instant change there. All of a sudden, maybe portions of that playbook are now opened that were closed, are now opened up to that new quarterback. Now, what that result will be, I don't know. It'll be a good result or a bad result, I don't know. But it'll be a different result. You're going to see different layers. You're going to see maybe more motion. You're going to see maybe more tight windows being thrown into. I don't know. Again, successful or unsuccessful, who knows? But right now, it's not successful. So why is it such sacrilege to talk about benching your starting quarterback when he hasn't performed? You want to change things. You want to message the team that you're changing. Well, then do it. Do it where it really would send the biggest message, and that's at the starting quarterback. So, again, Darius Slay picked up by the Bills after being waived by the Steelers. What time is Birds Blast tomorrow at 4:15 p.m. here on your It's a Wrap Sports channel. Me and Kyle Quinn. Kyle's going to get, I'm going to put him against the wall on this one. He said last week that the loser of this game, Bears-Eagles, would be the winner of the Fraud Bowl. I'm going to see if Kyle's ready to say in front of God and country that the Philadelphia Eagles are a fraud. Now, I don't listen to his show. I should support him, but I don't. I don't listen to any WIP. And not that I don't like WIP. It's not that I just don't listen. But I don't know if he's already said it, but I'm going to try to get him to say it tomorrow. So make sure you're here for that. 4:15 tomorrow, the Birds Blast. Start Tanner, bench Hurts. I agree. And again, I'm not saying to do it forever. I'm not saying I'm not going to say it's like Alabama, right? I'm going to say that. Ultimately, you're paying him starting quarterback money, and you're going to have to figure it out. Now, what they do in the offseason with Jalen Hurts is going to be an interesting situation as well. What this team's going to look like, it's almost like not that I want it to kind of collapse. I think it is, and I've been thinking it all year, but if it does collapse, and again, two options with collapse. Collapse is not making the playoffs at all, right? That's an uber mega collapse. That's fireable for everybody. Everyone should get fired for that if they don't make the playoffs. They lose out, go 8-9. Everyone's out of here. But if they get into the playoffs and they go one and done, that's a collapse, right? Don't you think? So those are the two collapse options. Those are the two things that I think if happen are collapsible, right? The only thing that's not collapsible is if they actually get to the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying win it, but get there. Then you pat them on the back and say, great work. I can't believe you did this. But if one of those first two options happen, that's a collapse. Now, what happens in the offseason? 23 impending free agents. You traded away 4 draft picks since September to acquire players that did not work out for you at all. You got players that are going to need pay raises that you're probably going to have to pay. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, isn't Nakobe Dean one of them players too? So now you got all this money tied up potentially with inside players who all play on defense, by the way. What kind of offseason are you expecting from Howie Roseman? That's going to be another interesting story to watch. So the worst may not yet to come, for God's sakes, if the Eagles don't make it through this season, because the offseason might be even worse than it was last year. We'll have to wait and see. But yes, start Tanner, bench Hurts. I agree. At least for this game. At least for the Chargers game. Why not? What? Can it hurt? Can it get any worse than what the offense is right now? Big question. Can it get any friggin' worse? And again, I'm not saying permanently. I'm not saying you take away his damn Dakota ring. I ain't saying any of that. Bench him for one friggin' game. And for the Eagle fans out there that are chomping away as the Jalen Hurts apostles that are biting on their fingernails, expecting, hoping that doesn't happen because you don't want one of those old-fashioned quarterback controversies. Because of course, if Tanner McKee does, let's call them Banks. We'll say Tanner Banks. But if Tanner McKee comes in and throws for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns and leads the Eagles to a 55-10 win, then all of a sudden we're going to have, and it's going to be obnoxious. Yes, it would. It would be very obnoxious. We would take that and run with that. Of course we would. We're Eagles fans. And that's the one thing that Jalen Hurts fans don't want to see happen. Because I really think that the Jalen Hurts apostles are more interested in their quarterback succeeding than they are their team. I really do. I don't think the Jalen Hurts apostles, and I want to word this carefully because I don't want to put them all in the same boat. But honestly, I don't think they care. They may tell you they care about the name on the front more than on the back, but I don't think that's the case with Jalen Hurts. I don't. Because they're very concerned about a quarterback controversy. They're very concerned about upsetting the broken ship, apparently, but yet they'll say on the other side of their mouth, they're all about winning. Just like their quarterback. Is Jalen Hurts really all about winning when he doesn't want to be known as a running quarterback? I don't understand where we're getting all that. But what do you do to fix this thing? What kind of message can you send right now? I say you bench him, man. AJ and everyone on offense sucks. Star Wars coming in with more insightfulness. What are you expecting out of the MLB winter meetings? Oh, man, Jose, welcome to the program. We talked about it. I just did the damn hot stove report, man. It just went on about a 20-minute rant. What do I expect? So are you asking what I expect to happen between December 7th and 10th, or what am I expecting to happen for the entire offseason? I'll give you both. What I like to happen between December 7th and 10th is that you find a way to trade Nick Castellanos, Alec Bohm, and Bryson Stott. Find a way to trade all three of those players. Yep. That's what I would like to have happen. Because in my plan, MattyB's plan in 2026, I am going with a youth movement on this baseball team. Matter of fact, for your benefit there, Jose, I will put this up for you right now. This is my starting Phillies lineup in 2026. This is actually with my entire, starting rotation, bullpen, everybody, bench, all that. So this is a wish list, of course. I don't expect any of this stuff to happen, but I would love for it to happen. But between the 7th and 10th of December, I want them to trade Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott, and Nick Castellanos. The offseason in the general and a shell, get rid of Kyle Schwarber, let him go, bring in Pete Alonso, sign Kaylee Jansen from the Angels, back end bullpen guy, make him our setup guy. Bring in a fifth starter safety net player. Al on our show the other night when we did our Fighting's final end of season thing said, Walker Buehler could be a potential safety net guy in that fifth hole. Somebody like that, a Corbin Burns or Patrick Corbin, a Walker Buehler type. I would also like for them to go out and sign Luis Ariz, the free agent second baseman of the San Diego Padres. Again, it's a wish list, but I would love for that to happen. And then, of course, begrudgingly re-sign JT Realmuto because there's just no other options that we have. Not that I want them. I just think we have no choice. So in a nutshell, that's what I want to see happen over the course of the winter meetings and of the offseason. And again, just to bring this up real quick, I just want to make sure that I explain myself better and make sure that you're clear about this. Here it is. So going around the diamond, this is MattyB's wish list. I got Pete Alonso starting at first. I got Luis Ariz at second. Turner's at short. I'm throwing third base over to Otto Kemp to start the season. And then around hopefully June, July-ish, when Aiden Miller's batting 510 down in AAA with 12 homers and 47 RBIs and 49 stolen bases, I'm calling him up and turning third base over to him. Harrison Bader in left. That's, if I can't get a Harrison Bader, somebody along that type of player, veteran, doesn't come too cheap or doesn't come too expensive, is not necessarily at the back end of his career, but maybe more in his prime, maybe at the end of his prime. Somebody I can just kind of plug that hole for a couple of years in left, but Bader will do. Justin Crawford in center, Gabriel Raconis Jr. in right, JT behind the plate. Bryce Harper is my DH. My bench is Sosa, Marsh, and Marchand. My starting rotation is Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez, Luzardo, Painter, or a Patrick Corbin like type fifth guy. Bullpen is Johan Duran, Kenley Jansen, Orion Kerkering, Jose Alvarado, Matt Strom, Tanner Banks, Taijuan Walker. I'm moving to the bullpen full time, and Lou Trevino. So, and my starting lineup, I'm leading Turner off. I'm batting Ariz second, batting Harper third, batting Alonso fourth, JT at fifth, Bader sixth, Gabriel Raconis at seventh, Kemp at 8, and Crawford batting 9. I'm all about changing the DNA of this baseball team. I'm all about that. I don't want the inconsistent 13 runs one game, 9 runs over the course of the next 7 games. I don't want that anymore. I want a team that's known for contact. I want a team that moves runners along. I want to play small ball till our eyes are bleeding. I want to lead the league in sacrifice flies. I want to lead the league in sack bunts. I want to be the most hideous, runningest team in Major League Baseball history. I want to steal. I want 200 collective stolen bases for the Phillies in 2026. I want to win games dirty. I want to win games in between the lines. I don't want to rely on home runs anymore. And that's my plan to do that. I want to keep power in my lineup, and I got it at my 3 and 4 spots, but I got contact hitters sprinkled throughout. That's my plan, Jose Perez. What do you think of it? Think it's a pretty good plan? More importantly, you think it's a realistic plan? Joe Hale says Cam York just got hurt. Great. Another trade chip off the table. Well, keep us updated. We're going to, as I said, we're going to transition here. We got about 4 minutes, I guess, to go in the game here. Flyers up 5-2. I'm mad we keep losing. Or what? I'm mad we keeping Jose. Keeping Jose Alvarado? Kyle Schwarber is going to cost a ton. He is. And Jose, here's the thing. And maybe I'm on an island with this. And maybe I'm alone. Is Schwarber going to replicate what he did in 25? And, going down the Saquon Barkley trail, is that something we should really rely on? And number two, wouldn't it be better for the collective good of this team and of this franchise, especially that you're bringing Rob Thompson back, to take away a player that apparently tells Rob Thompson what he wants to do? Take away one of the players that tells him what he wants to do, right? Aren't you tired of seeing Kyle Schwarber on the leadoff spot? Aren't you tired of watching Kyle Schwarber bat second? What is so goddamn hard about sticking that man in the 4-hole and forgetting about him, leaving him there? What is so goddamn hard? Now, to Rob's defense, perhaps it was more because there were so many holes in the lineup elsewhere. We never had a number 2 hitter. Hell, we didn't have a 6, 7, 8, or 9 either. But, our top of our lineup was criminal, how bad it was and how unstructured it was. So maybe I got to back off Rob a little bit and give him a little bit of props. But to have Alec Bohm batting 4th is just not working for me ever in any state, any universe. Again, I want Bohm gone. I want Bohm, Castellanos, and Stott gone at the winter meetings. I hope Dombrowski has a sign on his hotel room door. If you want Bohm, Castellanos, Stott, knock twice and whistle. I'll let you right in. Or if you want them 3, the keys under the mat, come on in and pour yourself a drink, because they must go. Like Crazy Eddie's up in here. Price is so low, we must be insane. They must go. We got to get rid of them. Got to happen. Oh, man. Tomorrow I can open the phone lines. Yes, I will, Joe Hale. I will open up the phone lines tomorrow. I will be back tomorrow night at 9. Let me see if I can get what's going on with this game here. So I guess we're at around the less than 2 minutes to go. About a minute and a half. Flyers up 5-2. So we'll get ready to transition into Clear the Ice. But I do want to finish up. I guess a good segue into Clear the Ice would be our Of the Night segment, as we'll talk about a Flyer prospect, and then we'll get right into Clear the Ice, and then we'll finish everything up with our card. Maybe I'll leave the card review till tomorrow. But let's do some Of the Night. All right, let's go to the other night segment, Flyers prospect, the young guy we picked up just this September from the Seattle Kraken for JV Avon. It's Tucker Robertson, center right winger, currently playing with the Phantoms, 5'11", 194, was drafted in the 4th round in 2022 by the Kraken. We came to appreciate his anticipation-based defensive game, along with his ability to place himself and his stick in the right position at the right time to intercept passes, then turn them into offensive chances. Sounds like a lesser Morgan Frost type player to me. Haven't really watched him play, but moving off of Avon, who was I believe an undrafted free agent, the Flyers had kicking around in their system for a few years. Robertson comes with a little bit of more of a, NHL sort of cachet, maybe something more to work with here. Low expectations of a fourth round pick taken in 2022, but some depth along the line with the Flyers and some actual scoring opportunities down there in Lehigh Valley. So, it's one of those low risk, high reward type moves for the Flyers. They gave up on a player that just was never going to work out for them, and picked up a potential younger player that could work out for them. So there's your Flyer prospect of the night, Tucker Robertson of the formerly of the Seattle Kraken. So there you have it. There you have it. So let's get into some more of the comments before we do transition. Ricky's asking, can we talk Flyers? Ricky, we're going to transition right now to, in about a minute, we're going to transition to the Clear the Ice show so we can talk Flyers at that time. 137 left in the game. I know Dombrowski will screw this offseason up. Peppernick, question. And as we have the winter meetings coming down on our on Sunday. I did the hot stove report earlier in the show. Some of the bigger names are starting to fall. Talked about a few trades, the Ryan Hessley trade, the there was another trade. It was another one, but we talked about some of the trades, some of the signings. Devin Williams now going to the Mets to probably plug the hole left by Ryan Hessley. But the Phillies continue to stay quiet on the free agent front, on the trade front. No impending moves, nothing. We don't even know if they're actually involved in talks with anybody. By the way, the Flyers have now gone final. They win 5-2. So we're gonna transition over here in a second. But yeah, I mean, do the Phillies have the money to go after high-priced free agents? Do you even want those guys here? And when we talk about changing this team and still trying to keep an ability to win, isn't it time to have the young players play? My mantra in 2026 is it's time. It's time to turn it over to the young guys. But Dombrowski, what narrative is he running off of? I don't know how much the Phillies can do this offseason. I expect, and I hopefully I'm wrong, I think they have one big signing in them, and that's either going to be Schwarber or Alonso. And then after that, it's going to be lesser players along the lines of a Max Kepler, a Joe Ross, a Romano. It's going to be like that. But I'm okay with that because that means if you trade away the other players that I want gone, Castellanos, Bowman, Stott, then you have no choice but to put the young players in. So I'm okay with a potential week off season in terms of bringing free agents here. But what's the plan? And what's this team going to look like in 2026? So obviously we're going to talk more about the Phillies at another time. That's going to do it for me here on the Final Word as we're going to transition. We'll take this last comment. Maybe why? No. What does Cody Bellinger do for us? I don't want another power hitter. Come on, guys. Have we forgotten how to truly win baseball games? Have we forgotten about what this team has been so inconsistent with their offense? I don't want to see 7 home run games anymore. And then 5 games where they score 4 runs. I don't want to see that anymore. I want to see a contact hitting baseball team that wins games in between the lines and everybody walks away from that game with a dirty uniform. I want to lead the league in sacrifice flies. I do. That's what I want to lead the league in next year. I'm telling you, the Bellingers, the Tuckers, the Bregmans, I don't want them. I got no confidence in the Phillies organization. Look, this organization is, listen, you're right. I'm not going to argue, but let's transition. As I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight, but don't go nowhere. Literally, I'll be back in like 5 seconds or 40 seconds, or how long this intro goes, and we'll talk some Flyers hockey because you got Clear the Ice coming up right now. righty, everybody. Welcome back to the Clear the Ice, a Flyers post-game show here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. And don't look at that logo. I'm going to take that down. I don't have a Clear the Ice logo in the studio, but welcome. It's your boy MattyB on the call. As you might have remembered me from the final word about literally 20 seconds ago, but here we go. We're going to switch gears. I did not do a final word last night, and I was supposed to, but something last minute came up that precluded me from getting on the air. So I came on tonight, did a final word, but I had post-game obligations, so we're transitioning right into Flyers post-game here. And here we go. Flyers rebound in a big way after that very disheartening loss to the Penguins the other night with a 5-2 win over the lowly Buffalo Sabres. Yes, and you can look at this game in many different ways. A team that's heading up and a team that's heading nowhere, right? I mean, that's really how you boil this bad boy down. The Buffalo Sabres, if you guys – in some context about being Flyers fans, even through this rebuild, it could be worse. And the team from upstate New York is the epitome of worse. I mean, this team for years, since they got rid of Danny B back in 2007, they have not been good. I mean, they just have not been good year after year. Bad hockey, year after year, high draft picks, year after year, nothing happening. And I don't know if any people have ever been out to Western New York, but that's a hockey hotbed, man. Buffalo's about 20 minutes from Canada. So there's a lot of cross-the-border youth hockey is huge in Buffalo. They got maybe 25 arenas where kids play. It's a huge sport. It's probably bigger than football, hockey up there. And to be connected to that type of team that just cannot figure it out, man. But listen, you want to see the Flyers beat a team like the Buffalo Sabres the way they did tonight. They just sort of overpowered them. Sam Ersson got the nod for the Flyers tonight. Looked a little shaky early on, gave up the opening goal to Jason Zucker on the power play, which is a very concerning trend now. I think that's 4 power play goals the Flyers have surrendered in the last 2 games. That's something they got to get under control. But after that, Ersson buckled down. The Flyers amped up the scoring, and they scored a couple more power play goals of their own tonight. So all in all, a 5-2 win, and a win you want to see the way they did it against a team like the Buffalo Sabres. It makes you feel better about the distance between a truly bad team and then the Flyers. So it's just good to see. It's just good to see. Good Flyers win. It was, Joe. And we're going to break some of the stuff down. Love how the players stood up for Zegras. Yep. A little scrum there behind the net between the Sabres and Flyers. Zegras kind of was in the middle of that, and they all sort of got in on that. That's absolutely. You definitely want to see that. There was some little chirping going on before the game with Nick Delorier and all that. But yeah, all in all, a very good positive win for the Flyers as they, I think, are up now to 33 points. I don't have my my little tracker up yet because I've been literally doing a show, but I can do this without it. Let's talk some game information for the Flyers. They healthy scratched Yulson and Carl Grundstrom, who just got called up today from the Phantoms, as Tyson Forrester has been officially placed on the IR for the next 2 to 3 months. I don't know how. I think they're calling it are they calling it a break? Or what are they calling his arm? Because I don't know of an arm. I mean, 3 months, is that all it takes to heal a broken arm? For the Sabres, Jordan Greenway, Pekka Luukkonen, and Tyson Kozra were all healthy scratches for the Sabres tonight against the Flyers. In between them pipes, as I mentioned, Sam Ersson got the nod for the Flyers. Interesting decision to go with Ersson with all this time off. The Flyers won't play again until Sunday. And interesting decision to go with Ersson here, I thought. But he did have a better career. I think he had like a 1.93 goals against average against them for his career. Ersson faced 26 shots, made 24 saves, finishes the night with a .923 save percentage. For the Buffalo Sabres, between the nets tonight was Ellis, faced 35 shots, made 30 saves, and a .857 save percentage, and that tells you pretty much everything you need to know. Let's get into this. Jason Zucker would get the scoring going for the Sabres on the power play. Again, a very, very bad trend here as the Flyers have all of a sudden gotten very porous on their penalty kill. His 8th from Doan and Norris. Doan's 11th assist and Norris's 12th to give the Sabres a lead at the 4:08 mark of the first period. But at about 4 minutes later, Travis Konechny, thank God, we've got to start seeing his name a lot more on the score sheet. His 6th goal on the power play. Flyers scored 2 power plays tonight. His 6th from Michkov's 7th and Sanheim's his 8th at the 8:26 mark to tie it all up. But the Flyers were not done in that first period, as Trevor Zegras would get going about 26 seconds later on the power play. Zegras, his 10th from Sanheim, his 9th assist, and Konechny, his 16th. So there's 2 points there for Travis Konechny on the night. It was, again, at 9:04 to give the Flyers the 2-1 lead, and then they would cap off the scoring within that first half of that first period. 3 goals for the Flyers in that span. Bobby Brink, his 7th from Cates and Grabrinkin at 9:25 to give the Flyers a 3-1 lead heading into the first intermission. The Flyers were all over Buffalo, 11-4 shots for the period, and they were shooting holes in Ellis all period long. And I kind of was looking at the first period. I kind of wanted to see about maybe one more goal would have been nice. That probably would have put the lights out of the Sabres heading into the second. But a very productive 3-goal first period. In the second period, the Flyers would get the score up to 4-1 with Noah Cates' 6 from Brink and Drysdale at the 1:45 mark. One of them early period goals that are so demoralizing for teams when you first come out of the dressing room and you're not even 2 minutes into the period. You give up a goal. It's just deflating. But the Sabres would climb back in this and try to make it respectable. Bowen Bryman, his 6th goal of the year from Tush and Quinn at the 11:48 mark to make it 4-2. But then Tippett at the about a little bit more the midway point of that second period, his 9th from Michkov and Couturier to put the Flyers up 5-2. And that's how the score would be heading into the second intermission. The Sabres outshot the Flyers. They came back with the shots in the second period, 14-12. Third period action, no goals, as there was some really good goaltending going on for both teams in that period. Flyers would outshoot the Sabres 12-8 in the third. Outshot the Sabres 35-26 on the game. The Flyers were 2 for 4 on the power play, and they killed 5 of the 6 penalties. Again, that's a trend. What was it last? Was it 6 penalties, right? So that's 12 penalties over the past, 2 games or no, 10 penalties. 4 penalties against the Penguins, 6 against the Sabres. So we got 10 penalties in the last 2 games and 4 power play goals. So that's something the Flyers got to figure out. The penalty kills, the taking of these penalties totally screws up your offensive flow, offensive rhythm, and you got to be better with killing them, obviously. Flyers took the puck away 7 times, gave it away 9. That's really good to see. Less than 10 giveaways. Hallelujah, man. When was the last time they did that? And blocked 16 shots on the night. And that's how you get a 5-2 Flyer win. And they are now 15-8-3. I'm guessing there. I think that's what they are. 15-8-3 now on the season as they continue to just gain confidence as they every win, every game is a confidence builder. Ricky Deal says, let's go Flyers. Indeed, Ricky Deal, indeed. The Flyers jumped the Devils in the standings. They did, Joe. But, it's December. There's a lot of hockey left. The Flyers will be off now again until, I said, was it Saturday they're playing? No, Sunday they play. Let me see. Sunday. Sunday afternoon against the Colorado Avalanche. I will have you on the call for that one. It's a 1 p.m. start down there at the arena, and then I'll get you at around 4 as we have no Eagles football this weekend. We have to wait till Monday night to get that thing revved back up, but we'll be at you for the Clear the Ice program on Sunday. And red hot Colorado team. This is going to be a test for the Flyers. This is going to be an interesting game to watch because thankfully the Flyers are coming into this game with Thursday, Friday, 3 games off. Let's take a look at what the Rockies, the Avalanche. I'm going to look that up right now. When are the Avalanche playing heading into this game? Because this could definitely be a really good sign for the Flyers as the Avs have been just red hot. Though they're 19-1-6 on the season right now, and they are playing on Saturday. So The Flyers are going to get the Avalanche on a back-to-back. They're going to be in New York on Saturday afternoon against the Rangers, and then they're going to come to Philly on Sunday. But they're 19-1-6 on the season. It's friggin' amazing. How the hell you go 19-1-6 to start the year? That's going to be a really good game. Again, one of those watermark games that you can kind of guess what. Who my 3 stars of the game? My 3rd star, I'm going to give to Urson. I'm going to give Sam Urson the star there. I really thought that the Flyers. It was an interesting decision to go with him with 3 days off. I would have ridden Vladar into that personally. But career-wise, Urson had like a sub-2 ERA, a sub-2 goals against average against the Sabres. So they rode the hot hand there. So I'm going to give Urson my 3rd star. I guess Zegras will get my 2nd star. Again, he continues to be that offensive spark plug for the Flyers. And then with the 2-point night, you got to be happy to see this guy score a goal. If he can't get going, if Travis Konecny cannot get going, the Flyers ain't going nowhere. They're not getting to the playoffs. All right. They're just not. They need him. They need him so bad, especially now that Forrester's down. But I'm going to give Konecny with a very positive offensive night my number 1 star. So hope that answered your question there, Joe. I don't typically do 3 stars of the game. I think it's stupid. I do. But you saw last night who got the 3rd star out there in Vegas, right? Did you guys see that? Carter Hart. Carter Hart gets the 3rd star for the Vegas Stars or Vegas Knights in their win against the Blackhawks in overtime or in a shootout. As Carter Hart returns to the National Hockey League. Circle December 11th on your calendar, folks, as Vegas will be in town to play the Flyers. And what kind of reception does Carter Hart get? And does he start? Definitely must-see TV there. So Flyers with a 5-2 win over the Buffalo Sabres. A game that you really wanted to see them win the way they won. You didn't want to see them have to struggle against too much Sabres, because that would have definitely not made you feel confident about where this team was. But all's well that ends well. Flyers win 5-2. It was great to be here for this. I'm going to wrap this up. Did the final word, did a twofer. We've done this before. It's a lot, but I want to thank everybody for joining me. I will be back tomorrow night with the final word. All right. Tomorrow on the program, or on the network, I should say, not the program, but on the network, full day of coverage starting at 4:30, not 7 o'clock. The Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn at 4:15. Sorry, 4:15. The Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn. 8 o'clock, the Gridiron Weekly Report, and then me at 9, wrapping things up with the final word. And then we'll send you into a dead weekend, absolute dead weekend. Nothing on Friday, nothing on Saturday, and then we'll get back at it on Sunday. So everybody gets a mandatory vacation weekend here from the network for 2 days. Hope they enjoy their Friday and Saturday. But that's going to be the last time we do that, I promise you. Starting next week, you'll see the schedule get a little bit more tighter as we'll get programming back on Friday night specifically with the Philly Friday Frenzy with Mr. Big Al Zafiri starting December 12th at 9 p.m. and then some post-game stuff as well. So stick with us. Sorry I took a vacation yesterday. Again, just something came up at the last minute that I just could not avoid. But I was back tonight, and I think I fulfilled my requirement of doing 2 shows in one and showing off my versatility. So we'll talk again tomorrow when I see you at the Birds Blast at 4:15. Until then, you guys have a great night. Take care.